How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Seminole Sidelines. Ariya Massoudi and Bob Ferrante, Curt Weiler, and we've got a special FSU softball preview featuring a Seminole infielder. First baseman, DH is sometimes Mack Leonard, has been an instrumental part of Lonnie Alameda's team now for a couple of seasons, and they kick off, I should say first pitch is tomorrow, Thursday. They play Lipscomb at 4 o'clock. And we've got some news for you as well, as they've changed the schedule around for the weekend. Those of you planning to go to Joanne Graff Field to watch the number 4 ranked team in the country start their season, they are changing a couple of things. And we'll get to that in a minute. We'll do that at the end of the show. But it should be exciting. We talked a little bit at length on Monday about this Florida State softball team. Bob, we'll start with you. They've got a lot of hype. It's a lot of people that are going to have eyes on this team early on, a lot of expectations, and they get the season started on Thursday.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of optimism for this team, what they can do. The players see that they've got maturity, experience, depth. Coach Alameda saying they might even go 7 pitchers deep this year, which would be really, really something that, in past years, we've kind of seen them lean more maybe on 1 or 2 and an occasional, 3rd or 4th and some kind of spot responsibilities. So yeah, I think Coach Alameda likes what she has in terms of various options. There's some younger players. They're going to figure out where they best fit. There's still a question about third base. Is that going to be, in part, I think it's going to be Kaylee Harding. Christina Hartley will be there. They've also got a freshman that they really like. They're going to blend in and kind of see where the pieces fit here. I think Lonnie really wants to figure things out over the next 15 to 20 games. So that would be in part this weekend with the Joanne Graff Invitational, and then in part that trip down to Clearwater, which we talked about on Monday. That's the crazy schedule. We got a lot of top 25 games. So Florida State softball jumping right into it, and looking forward to seeing them first pitch Thursday at 4 o'clock.
Curt, what are you most excited about?
Yeah, I mean, it's always exciting this time of year. I mean, when they have just so many games backloaded, and I mean, I think I'm excited to see the new Plex and what it looks like over there at Joanne Graff Field, like with all the renovations Bob talked about. I mean, I think third base is an interesting one. I think there's a lot that how this team's going to line up, but you got some big shoes to replace, like Bob said, in Sydney Sherrill leaving. I think she's a grad assistant at Grand Canyon now, kind of staying in the softball world. But I think it's exciting. I mean, this is definitely a weekend, I think, for figuring some things out against kind of teams wearing different colors, and then kind of getting thrown into the deep end the following weekend in Clearwater, where, I mean, they've got UCLA's on the schedule, Alabama's on the schedule. I mean, that's always kind of like a bucket of water dumped over your head, or like a real test of like, oh, here's how our team is kind of pretty early in the season. So a lot to like about this team, to be sure. And I mean, a lot of expectations as it's kind of become the norm under Lonnie Alameda.
Yeah, specifically in the lineup, I think Florida State just returns so many weapons. They'll beat you with power, speed. They can hit for average. I think they've got the tools to move runners over, to play small ball if they have to. Having Mudge come back, big deal for this team. Obviously, you're going to hear from Mack Leonard in just a moment. But having Michaela Edenfield, you've got the bombs and the power there. Harding, I think, will have take a step forward in terms of power production for this team this year. And I'm excited to see what Devin Flaherty does too. I think she's kind of primed to break out and really be an offensive force for the team, as well as in the circle with Sandra Cock, right? Like, I think you've had a premier arm now for a couple of seasons. She really came into her own last year and didn't quite get to be on that stage in OKC because of, Florida State losing in the regional. They are, I think, going to be hungry this season. And I think in the circle, they've added some good stuff with Dubois, with Allison Royalty coming in from Arizona State. They've got arms. They've got some depth. Mack Leonard can still toss it around a little bit when called upon. And so Lonnie Alameda's got herself quite a squad. So this will be fun. And I think it starts tomorrow. And I also think you're tired of hearing us talk about it. So I think we'll go ahead and get it down to business here and have Mack Leonard, Florida State's infielder, who joined us on Seminole Sidelines. Enjoy.
All right, Mack, I know you've got a deep softball background going through the family with your mom, Lana, playing at Illinois State. Can you just talk about, hearing stories about softball growing up with her and kind of the family's love for the sport?
So my mom was always pretty good around the state of Illinois. I didn't really know how good she was until I kind of went to her hometown and realized like she won state a few years. She was in Sports Illustrated for like having 5 perfect games in a row, which in softball that's like unheard of. And so like that's kind of like my mom's claim to fame. And like once I heard all these things, I was like, I'm gonna break all your records, Mom. Like I'm gonna try and do all this. I told her, I was like, Mom, I'm gonna try and be better than you. And she's like, good, like I want you to. And so we always just kind of had that camaraderie going back and forth, but also she was my coach and she kind of helped me grow from the ground up literally with softball, and she taught me how to pitch and how to throw properly. Not necessarily how to hit, but she guided me along the way to where I needed to go towards like a hitting instructor, better coaches, just because she knew that she wasn't like the best hitter whenever she was playing.
So for you, was it softball all along? Were there other sports like basketball or other things that were kind of your go-to?
My first sport was actually swimming, and I loved it and never wanted to give it up. And then it was swimming and soccer. Then it was swimming, soccer, and softball. Then it was swimming, soccer, softball, and tennis. Then I ended up getting into volleyball, so then I had to give up a few, so I gave up swimming and tennis. Then I was just doing soccer, softball, and volleyball for a while. Eventually, once I think middle school hit, I was just doing volleyball and softball. And I wanted to do volleyball in high school, but I wasn't able to because I wanted to get like workouts after school and before school with softball going, and I knew that's what I wanted to play in college. But I think like that would be one of my biggest regrets probably, is not playing volleyball in high school with my friends, because like all my closest friends were volleyball players and they were always all together. Like our seasons were different, so it was hard to see them all the time, but that would probably be one of my things I'd regret from high school, is that I didn't play volleyball with them.
This is your second year at Florida State. Is it easier, more comfortable now because you kind of know the off-season expectations,
yeah,
what the lead up to a season is going to be like? Do you have that comfortability maybe?
Yeah, definitely more comfortable this season, having a whole year and a half under my belt. It feels really like comforting knowing that I am this comfortable, and gives me more confidence, and hopefully in a way I can give my teammates more confidence, just because I feel like I now know it, like not exactly what to do, but I can make do with what I have and just kind of battle my way through whatever comes, and like have the smarts of what we do here, just more comfortably sitting. Then I feel much more prepared for the season, and like I can last throughout the entirety of the season.
You could play first base, pitch, DH.
Yep.
You have that versatility. Do you just want to be out there somewhere,
yeah,
in some capacity every day? Is that fair?
Yeah, wherever my role is that day, whatever coach needs me to do, that's what I'm doing. I'm 100% okay with whatever my role is. I've told myself that from the get when we got here. Coach has always been very transparent and very open with like where I'm going to be at. She loves that I have the versatility on the field, and now she can use it however she sees fit.
Do you it seems to be a lot of experience, a lot of depth, some versatility too, like you said, with different positions too. How good is that for this team, just to have?
Yeah, we have a lot of depth on the team, and I think it's really good. Our pitching staff in itself is extremely deep. You've got Kat coming back with like 5 years of experience now. Well, 4 years, and this is her 5th year. Allie, this will be her 6th year in college in the circle. Yeah, she took last year off, but she's going to come right back in it and pitch her butt off. And then you've got Allison Royalty from ASU. She's got 2 solid years from ASU. You've got me, who's been in the softball world in college for 4 years now, won it here at FSU. You've got 2 freshmen who are getting into it, and you've got Emma, who's also got 2 years here under her belt. Like we're very spread out and very diverse within our skills and pitching staff, but we're also very ready to compete.
A lot of people are curious about third base, not just because Sydney Sherrill's gone, but who's the next person at a position of priority here. It could be Kaylee, could be Christina, it could be somebody else. What have you kind of seen from the various third base options? I
think that all the third basemen are working really hard at trying to make each other better and being healthy competition for each other. I don't know who's going to end up there, and I think that it'll also get moved around a little bit just to see where the ebb and flow of like the team is and who works best with what pitcher. But at the end of the day, coach is going to make the best decision and put the best 9 out on the field.
Do you guys kind of get a sense of an identity or maybe a strength or a persona of a team this early, or does it take time to figure that out?
I feel like we have strength as camaraderie, but once you get into season, you kind of just become like even more of a family. Like, we're family right now, but like once you get going in a season, like we're with each other like 95% of the time, especially on away trips. Like, we don't spend 10 seconds away from each other because you're living with each other for the duration of that weekend. But I would say, like, just as the season does grow, like once you hit postseason, like we know everybody's ins and outs of each other, and we know like what gets people going, what brings them down, what fires them up, what does the opposite. So like we're there to go with them because like seasons are very up and down. So we're here to just kind of like even everybody out, and we figure that out as we go along.
How does Coach Almeida create that kind of personal connection with people? It seems like she relates very well to just about everybody. Is it just natural? How does she do it?
It's very natural.
Yeah.
She's a people person for sure, and like she's just very good at it. I think that honestly just must have been how she was born. I find it a little bit harder to like have conversations the way she does with people, but the way she's able to read a person and figure out exactly how to approach that person, what to say to different personality types is honestly amazing, just because there are so many different people and there's so many ways you can approach a situation in a person, but she seems to have the right way and the right words in every single one of them. And I think that also just comes with her wisdom and her time here, and her being at FSU for 13 years now. Like she knows what she's doing, and she's also got more experience than any of us. So she's just got that skill down pat.
Yeah. What's your, as you kind of look forward to this season? I mean, obviously opening day is just a couple days away now.
Yeah.
What do you, obviously you're looking at it day by day, game by game, but what's kind of your long-term outlook for what you guys can accomplish this year?
Long-term outlook, obviously our goal is to be the last team standing in Oklahoma City. It's been our goal, our talk from day one. Like we said, everyone, like this is our goal, this is like our standard, this is what we want, and now it's just how do we attain it. But our process every day, day in and day out, is one pitch at a time. So we always just focus on maintaining that mentality of thinking, like execute this pitch, execute that swing. Like just keep going one pitch at a time, because you can't get anywhere before you get through that first pitch of the season, and then the next one, then the next. So you have to really have that mindset and hone in on that. Because if you just think end goal, you forget about the whole process, and the process is like literally where all your memories, all your experience, all your wisdom comes from in this sport.
Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
That was really cool. Bob, good job on the interview there. Mack Leonard, a great representative of Florida State and Florida State softball. Coach has to be so proud of her, and she's going to be an important piece to this team this year. I think, we popped up her numbers there on the screen, and I'll pop it back up. Last season, 375, 8 homers, 49 RBIs. She's got more pop in that bat that I think 8 home run shows, and she's going to hit close to 400. And I think they're going to count on her leadership. A transfer student last year coming in, but now it's kind of her program, part of the program this year. And this is a group that has really good veteran leadership, I think, going into the opening day.
I think that's the strength of a lot of these teams. Lonnie Almeida likes to have that veteran core. Like you said, I think you would almost take Mack Leonard's 2022 all over again, but you could really expect her to get a couple more homers, some doubles, more RBI. I think you'll see she'll have the table set for her between Kaylee Mudge and the others ahead of her in the batting lineup. I think this team is really itching to get at it. Just like a lot of teams that we talked to in the days leading up to a season, they're kind of tired of facing each other in these inter-squad games. They're tired. Max said on Tuesday, doesn't want to see Kat Sandercock again, doesn't want to see Ali Dubois again, doesn't want to see, these same pitchers they've seen for months and months on end. So it's time for the real games. The excitement is very much there to see what this team can begin to accomplish in their first steps on the field.
Curt, as we move into opening day, and we talked about some of the storylines, things that you're looking forward to, what do you think is the strength of this Florida State softball team as of Wednesday, February 8th?
I mean, I think more than finding the strength, I think it's more, finding a weakness. I think you feel really good about the lineup, even losing someone like a Sydney Sherrill, who is a very valuable piece. They bring back so many real weapons. I think Kaylee Harding's somebody who gets lost in the shuffle when she was one of their more consistent hitters last season and kind of does it all, plays a bunch of positions. She's a really important piece, and along with, I mean, Mack Leonard, along with Michaela Edenfield, along with Devin Flaherty, along with all the people we've talked about. But I also think, I mean, I feel much better about their pitching depth. I mean, last year, I think we agreed that there were times because they were kind of redshirting Ali Dubois, and they had Danielle Watson, but they definitely felt like it was Cat in a lot of those big moments, and that you knew it was going to be Cat in a lot of those big moments. And I don't know if that at all has to be the case this season. I think you feel better about their pitching depth. I mean, legitimately of who they have, and I think you have multiple people who can win you those tough games, and it won't be like, well, you're playing a top 5 or 10 team, so, or like you're playing an important game, so it's probably going to be Cat. I think that's improved enough to maybe make up for, I mean, the questions about how you replace the Sydney Sherrill, which is, I think, one of your, I mean, main pieces, her and Danielle Watson. And I think you feel pretty good about how you replace Danielle Watson.
I'm with you. And I think another name too, I wanted to mention, 2 of them actually, and we'll wrap up the show here in a couple of minutes. Bethany Keene, remember last year got hurt and came in as a transfer that I think they had plans on being an immediate impact player. And I think she ended up getting a medical red shirt. And so she'll be back this year, hopefully healthy at some point and able to really play at a high level for Florida State. And then I also think Janai Kerr, another player that a couple of years ago hurt her knee and had to miss the whole season and really was off to, remember, a really, really good start for Florida State in her freshman year and had to kind of get shelved. So last year it felt like she was still working her way back into playing softball every day, so to speak. And so those are a couple of names I think you keep an eye on it. And there's always, the big time names, right? We've mentioned a couple of them here early on. Bob, what's the ceiling for this team?
I think they'll say it's OKC or bust, and they want to win it all. Now the question really is, how well are you prepared for that journey? Because the ACC is improving. Clemson, Duke, Virginia Tech, some examples. But for Florida State, it's all about, how do you prepare? How does Clearwater go? Do you see some top 25 teams that really challenge you and show you where you might need to improve on? I think if third base truly is settled, and I'm maybe not as worried as I should be once we've seen how it's transitioned from Jesse Warren to Sydney Sherrill. If Kaylee Harding is the next one, or if Christina Hartley is the next one, or if it's a combination of both, if third base is settled, we think this lineup is going to produce runs. We know what Kat Sandercock gives you. We think there's some pitching depth with Allison Royalty and some others. I mean, I truly think OKC is very much the reality, but it's also to get a really deep run into that championship series out in OKC too.
Curt, can this team win it all? Can somebody knock off Oklahoma?
I think this team, top to bottom, I may prefer them to that team 2 years ago. They kind of made the unlikely run. I mean, went on the road for the Super and then made it all the way to the championship series and won the first game against Oklahoma, and then I mean, kind of came up one win short of that national title. I think I like this team top to bottom better than that one. So yes, I think absolutely they can. I mean, Oklahoma is going to be Oklahoma. But Oklahoma, I know, also lost a few people. What's Jocelyn Aho? Is she the one who hit like 1 million home runs? Is finally gone, I think. And I think they may have had to replace a pitcher or 2 as well. So, I mean, they're going for what, a 3-peat, I think? They won the last 2. They beat Texas, right?
That sounds right.
So it won't be easy. Oklahoma is definitely still Oklahoma, and the WCWS is essentially a home game for the Sooners. But yeah, no, that's definitely a possibility for sure.
Yeah, this team's got all the pieces, and we want to make sure that you guys know about. There have been some game time changes coming up for the Joanne Graff Classic, which will be this weekend in Tallahassee. So let's see. We've got mostly intact. The biggest change is Friday, where they have canceled some of the games due to impending weather. Florida State will now play a doubleheader on Thursday. So those of you coming in expecting one game against Lipscomb, you're going to get 2 games against Lipscomb. First one's at 4 p.m. And then approximately 30 minutes after game 1, they'll play Lipscomb again. And then Saturday, they'll only play at 1:30 against Longwood. And they moved up, I believe, Longwood and Purdue, and then Lipscomb and Purdue to earlier in the morning. So Florida State and Longwood will play at 1:30. There won't be any games after that. And then a full slate Saturday, 10 a.m. to 4:45. You've got softball, and FSU has a doubleheader on Saturday, February 11th as well. 2:30 against Longwood and 4:45 against Purdue. I think we'll have a couple of our guys stop by at some point this weekend throughout the week. And so we'll have coverage of FSU softball on our sites, theosceola.com. Please make sure to subscribe, buy a subscription, share it with your friends, with your family, and makes a great gift as well now that we're into 2023. Appreciate those of you joining us here on YouTube, on Facebook, and Twitter. I want to thank Bob Ferrante and Curt Weiler. This will be available on Apple Pods, Spotify, and everywhere else you get your favorite podcasts. And we will all be back Friday for more Seminole Sidelines. And again, thanks to Mack Leonard for joining us here. So until we talk to you again, I'm Ariya Massoudi, and this has been Seminole Sidelines.